You're listening to Out Late with David. True stories of coming out later in life. And now here's your host, David Cotton.
Hello and welcome to Out Late with David. Today's guest is David Willett. For decades, David lived what was considered a traditional life. Married for over 30 years, raised 3 children, and built a successful corporate career. But in 2009, his life took an unexpected turn when he was publicly outed as a gay man. What followed was a difficult but ultimately transformative journey towards authenticity, community, and love. David later became president of Gay Fathers of Greater Boston, helping countless men navigate coming out later in life. Today, he's living openly, married to a husband, and starting a new chapter in Palm Springs. David, welcome to Out Late with David.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You grew up in a small Connecticut community, for what you told me.
Yeah.
What was it like there as a kid?
It was rural. It was, I tell people it was kind of like a cross between Mayberry RFD and Petticoat Junction. We didn't have a train going through the town, but it was a small mill town, very blue collar, very few people. So it was a nice place to get raised as a kid. And then I could go hiking, I could go fishing from whenever I could remember, like 5, 6 years old, and just go off and do stuff. But there was just no, how to say it. Now when I look back on it, there was no one gay. There was no one out. I had no idea what a gay person was.
No diversity at all.
No, I just knew we had one family of color in the whole town. So it was very homogenous, and it was how do I say it? It's sweltering. It was yeah. It was not a place to really thrive from a personal standpoint. You just did what you were supposed to do.
Okay,
and that's a total line. That was basically the life that we had.
So that town sounds very interesting and kind of like mine too, small Iowa town where not a lot of role models and just society itself.
Yeah.
Just the way it was. How did religion play a part the way you thought to itself?
I grew up Catholic, and it was very much that guilt kind of driven into you for bad thoughts, for doing things that you weren't supposed to do, for all that kind of stuff. I was an altar boy for a long time. Never got approached sexually from a priest or anyone else. So had really no idea like what it was all about.
Did you have any early thoughts as a child about how you felt, or like you were like everybody else, you were different?
I knew I was different. So I knew when I was like 5 years old, 4 years old, I was watching like Rompering or one of those things, and I was on my little like chair that could be a desk and a chair. You take the back and you flip it up, and I used to like to color and do all that kind of stuff. And my father came into the room, and he said, "What are you doing? Go out and play baseball with the boys." And I threw my crayons down and said, "Why do the girls always have the fun?" And my father went apoplectic white. Absolutely just flawed. He didn't know what to say, and my mother just went off.
Did that carry through as you got older, or did you ever feel like you fit in at all? Or
I did fit in. Okay. I had a persona that kind of I developed, but I just didn't. I could never be 100% me because there was just something there that wasn't socially acceptable. I don't know how else to say it, but it was, it was, I squashed a lot down starting from a very, very early age.
All through high school, college.
Just be the person that they want you to be. And that's kind of what I did.
Be the person they want you to be.
Yeah. Be the heterosexual man who dates girls and goes on for that kind of life. And it was never a question in my mind that I was straight. I was actually attracted to women. I still am fairly attracted to women, but I'm just so much happier with men. It's just innate in me. I don't know how else to say.
So you dated through high school and college?
Oh yeah, always had beautiful girlfriends and women around, and that was kind of part of I learned how to kind of compensate for the fact that I was athletic, but I really wasn't into sports. I wasn't into like baseball and football, but I forced myself to play. And I got through it because I was athletic enough, but my heart just wasn't in it.
What would your brother been doing?
I did gymnastics. And that I loved. I loved swimming. I loved diving. I loved running. So once I got a little older and got into track, that was something I enjoyed.
Sounds like a lot of individual sports too.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a team.
Not necessarily a team. Although gymnastics can be team, right, and so can running. Mm-hmm. So it's but you still have that camaraderie, and that was all fun.
So then you were married for over 30 years and you had kids.
Yeah.
What did that chapter look like of your life?
It was, we had I would say the first 15 years was like a honeymoon kind of a experience. I honestly thought when I got married, it was one of the happiest days of my life, because I was like, okay, this decision is kind of behind me. I've made my bed. I'm going to lie in it. And that's the way life's going to be. And then life comes around and kicks you in the ass. And it doesn't quite let you go. So 10 years out, I was like, thought this feeling would go away. And 15, I was like, this is not going away. And 20 years, I was like, this is not going away, and I got to do something about it.
So you're just suppressing it all these times and not doing anything with it per se?
Not really. I started to, go to the rest stops and the parks, and I was a long distance runner. I actually ran the Boston Marathon at one point when I was like 40. And so, doing long distance running, you have some downtime and places that you go to drop your car off and stuff like that. So there were always these little interesting moments when you figured out that you were in a gay spot. Men here looking for men. And little choosing. Yeah. It was interesting, but in my head, I couldn't be me and be gay. There was literally a psychological divide.
Couldn't be me and couldn't be gay.
Couldn't be me and be gay. My facade wouldn't support me being gay. In my head, I would lose everything. I would lose my family, my kids, my job. I would be ostracized, and that's how severe in my head I thought the reaction to coming out was going to be. So it kept me in the marriage. My wife was a beautiful person and very, very wonderful. Great mom. Just wasn't me. It was, I don't know how else to say it, but after a while, I got to the point where I knew it wasn't going to work, and I knew something had to change.
Did you have a plan to make that change during that?
Nope. Nope. So what happened was, when I was running, I'd start in state park and, go do my 20 miles and stuff. And some of the kids from my son's school, one of my middle son, saw me in the park talking to people and said, "Oh, your dad's gay. We saw him in the park." I was like, "What?" So he didn't tell me. He didn't confront me. He told my wife. So in August, she confronts me. I just kind of broke down. I was like, I didn't, because I honestly did not know what to do with it. I was like, so I said, I think I'm bi, and I just broke down. And we were working things out, but she never told me who told her. She wouldn't do that. So the tension in the house got just more difficult. going into Christmas. And we were usually usually the house that everybody came to. Mm-hmm. So it was odd because we just shut everything down and no, we're not doing that this year. And we just stayed with us. And kind of luckily we did, I guess. So we got to Christmas dinner and my middle son was just very volatile. Couldn't figure out what was going on with him. So we exchanged words. He went racing out of the house and I got to the door before him to stop him. And he just looked at me and yelled out, I know you're gay. I'm like, wow. So he proceeded to go out of the house. He knocked a solid wood door right off its hinges and it went screeching out of the driveway. And I turned around and my oldest son could get down to his room in the basement. My daughter, I was standing in front of her exit up to her room. And my ex went to the bedroom on this side of the house. And I turned around and I looked at my daughter and I said, are you okay? I said, Mom and I are working this out. And she said, no, Dad, are you okay? And I really wanted to cry. So out of this whole thing, because I was a mess, an absolute mess, and didn't know how to proceed, didn't know what to do, didn't know anyone who was gay. So I really struggled for a good year and a half, almost 2 years, before I found the gay fathers. And it was kind of bizarre in how I found the gay fathers. So there was another person in our town, and my wife goes, he's like you. And I said, what do you mean he's like me? Tall and good looking? She goes, no, wise ass. He came out a year ago. So I made it my mission to find out how he came out. For him got through to the GFGB and changed my life. Oh. It really did.
So after you had this family encounter, I guess.
Yeah.
The sons went out, one went out, one through the room, the daughter's there, the wife's in the bedroom. What was it like after that then?
It was, the tension was really high. It was, I'm trying to think because I was just in such a bad place. I couldn't focus on anybody else. So the son who was involved and knocked the thing off the door, once I got to group, people are like, just give him a chance, and if you're going to talk to your kid, get him someplace where he can't leave.
I think the long game too, the long game.
Exactly. So get him in the car and see. And so I get him in the car and we're talking and I'm bawling and he's like, Dad, nobody gives a shit. I'm like, what do you mean nobody gives a shit? He goes, because you're gay. Nobody gives a shit. Get over it. I'm like, okay. I said, really? He said, they talk about it for 5 minutes and then it's yesterday's news. He's like, what do you care? It doesn't matter.
Did he explain why he bolted out of the house and knocked the door off the hinges?
He didn't. He didn't. No, that was just, I think, pent up from him knowing, telling, and then just watching us pretend like nothing's happening instead of actually dealing with it.
Okay. How long was that gap between he told her?
6 months.
Oh.
Yeah.
So 6 months he's holding it.
August to December.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I had separate conversations with each of my 3 kids. My oldest was like, Dad, it's no big deal for me. So it's not going to change anything between us. And you got to do what you got to do. And my daughter was just super, super supportive. So actually all 3 of them were in their own ways through the whole ordeal. If I'd had a plan and thought about it, this is not how I would have done it. But in hindsight, I was so set on making it work that because I'd made my bed and I was going to lie on it, that I honestly, if I hadn't been outed, I honestly think I would have stayed in the marriage till I'd died, which probably would have not been too far along because the stress was fucking killing me. Absolutely.
And you said you kept it every 10 years or so, the cycle would come and get greater and greater.
Yeah.
And you're just going to keep doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you really think you would have when you reflect back, or would there be some?
I honestly think I'm not sure I would have had the courage unless I found the group and had gotten that level set on there's other people like me out there, and learning how to, which in therapy, which is one of the biggest things that I got out of this thing, was being able to give yourself a break, pat yourself on the back, just say your names. Yeah. It's just what a gift it was to get that after. I saw a lot of guys go through GFGB and
Gay Fathers Greater Boston.
Yeah. And they come out and then they find somebody in 6 months and they're off in a relationship, and then they drop the group and they stop that self kind of development. And I think it's that they cut themselves off from something.
Yeah. I tell clients, they told one this week, self-development is forever as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I've come out and I do it, but I'm growing constantly on a very sharp trajectory of up to whatever up is, something I continue to desire to understand myself and others and how I fit in the world. And you can't stop. So yes, exactly. Stay in those groups or find something else that fulfills those needs to allow you to keep you challenged and think and grow.
Yeah. Then if you don't have that, like a lot of people, when they come into group for the first time, you can see, and I was the worst at it. I used to beat the shit out of myself, not good enough. And that it worked in the business world because it drove me. It drove success. It drove me getting to the top, and it drove most of what I did, for my finances, to keep my family safe and roof over their head and all that kind of stuff. But it took its toll after a while, and it was never about self-love. It was never about do I love myself? I couldn't love myself. I didn't know who I was. And that's the point that I think I really, really want people to understand, is just to be able to get that sense of self-love. And that I did through therapy was the biggest gift. And now I have so much more to give to my kids. And now they can see that I'm a much happier person, and they get to experience a whole different side of me. So I don't have to be the disciplinarian and the one who's always gonna be after him or anything like that. Just a total different way of parenting, which is a gift.
As a life coach, I'm committed to help you discover the passions in your life and help you map a course to achieve the things you really want. Together, we will unwind those persistent self-doubts that are holding you back. You'll begin to see your passions more clearly and set achievable goals. Throughout your journey, I'll be there to challenge and encourage you in moving forward to discover your authentic self. For more information about my personal life coaching services, or to arrange a complimentary consultation, visit davidcottoncoaching.com.
You're listening to Out Late with David.
Yeah, let's go back to that first meeting where you pulled together the courage. And I also remind folks that you have courage inside of you. You've done something in your life for which is courage. So pull it out and step into it. So the courage to go to that meeting, what did you feel like when you found out where it was, you found the address?
Yeah.
Did you go by yourself? And
I did.
And what did that feel like as you walked up to
Oh my God, shaking, just scared, not knowing what's going to happen, and walked in the door, and right ahead of me was another new guy who I found out lived about a mile away from me, and we started the same day, and we're really, really good friends for probably the next 15 years, which was awesome. But it was, put it this way, the group had a lot of work to do with me once I actually got into group. And the suggestions and the insights that you get from people who have been through it were really, really super helpful. I was struggling with religion. One of the guys who was the leader of the group I think his ex was a minister, And he was always in the church and, in the, I don't know, like a lay person, helping out and structuring and doing things for them. And he said to me, do you think God makes mistakes? And I'm like, no, they teach it God's omnipotent, doesn't make mistakes. Then do you think he made a mistake when he made us? I'm like, no, I guess not. But it's that self-realization and being able to just let that weight go of not being that cookie cutter person that you thought you were expected to be, was huge. Absolutely huge.
How long did you continue in the group?
Probably another 10 years. I was president twice. As part of the responsibilities for president was a leading group. It was a sport group twice a week, twice a month, every 2 weeks. And it was a fulfilling thing to be able to give back to people, because you could see them walk in and understand exactly where they were and what they were going through, and the conversations to try to get them to let themselves off the hook, give themselves a pat on the back, self-love, all those types of things. Yeah,
those groups are powerful. I've had some tell me where, in this case, a therapist told someone, don't go to those groups. It's just a hookup thing. I said, no. I said, you may meet somebody, but it's support. Go, have the courage, go through the door.
Yeah.
And if it's not you, then don't stay.
Right.
My guess is it's probably going to resonate with you at some level. You're going to find other people, same place in life, different age, different backgrounds, but that thread of who am I and what do I do with this would be the theme.
Absolutely.
And will probably give you more benefit than not.
Yeah.
And we can make a decision to stay or not.
Some of my best friends today all come from that group.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm in my safe place and my comfort place when I'm there. Don't have to edit myself. Don't have to not say things that I would normally say, all that kind of stuff. And it's really refreshing.
So now let's jump to today. We're in Palm Springs, but some time took place between coming out and now moving recently to Palm Springs, where we are today. What's life been like since you feel a better sense of yourself, accepted who you are and who you want to be, and a little more peaceful?
It's been good. So let me start back. So back when I was first in the group, probably about a year into it, my therapist told me, do not get into a relationship. You don't know who you are. You don't know what it really means to be gay. You don't know about gay relationships, all that kind of stuff, right? And then 6 months later, I meet my husband and I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm in a relationship. He's like, oh, okay. Might not last. He might not be your forever guy. I'm like, yeah, I get that. I get that. We'll just play it alone. So never thought I would ever be in a gay relationship. Never thought I'd be married and to a man. Had no idea that was even possible. So my life has just taken such a turn, but so rewarding in different ways, because it's just part of me. It's me being me 100% of the time, and not this stereotypical cutout of what I think I should be, and as a parent or as a partner or as a whatever. And that's just freeing.
By the time you met him, had you dated others or tried different ways to date or date?
I'd have.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that like going through that process?
Scary. Yeah. It was, here I'm 50 plus years old and just learning how to date again and feeling like a 16-year-old girl. Honest to God, I was like, my emotions were crazy when I came out. My emotions, all that stuff that I bottled down.
So you kept them suppressed all those years?
Yeah. Yeah. Until I came out. And, oh my God. So even now I tear up so easily. It's unbelievable. You say something that hits me and I'll just start crying. Songs, I listen to them and I'm like, they mean something different for me, and I'll just start crying. But I don't hide that anymore, and I don't care.
How does it feel not to hide that now?
I mean, it feels great. It really does. I don't consider it a weakness anymore. I don't consider it me being less than anyone else or not the person that I should be. And that editing is, I'm trying, and like you said, it's a lifelong process, but I'm really trying to eliminate that editing stuff for people and let them deal with it.
How do those emotions serve you today?
I don't know. I think. I've always been I would say an intuitive person until this whole thing happened. I really thought I had my shit together. and I was doing good. And from the feedback that I got from my parents and the world and everybody else at work, and I was doing really, really well, but it wasn't me. It just wasn't. So
was that all being done for somebody else the way you were all those years? Were you working to somebody else's expectations?
Yeah. Parents, church, all that kind of stuff growing up.
It's a common theme, isn't it, when we talk to guys?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, those expectations go a long way.
Which makes me reflect always as a parent. What did I do with my children and impress upon them? That they'll be having a conversation with someone in the future to say, I did all these things because someone else expected me to do that.
Yeah. It's nice to be able to do things that I want to do when I want to do them. And, to be able to emote like that. That wasn't manly if you did that, to cry or to, show emotion. And I kind of had a big soft spot. So I just kind of shoved it down. Now it's all coming out.
What was the motivation to relocate after living so long on one part of the country and now to be where you are today?
Yeah, Boston doesn't have a lot of gay life anymore. And there's only 3 bars. They're not very close to each other. Providence has actually got a better gay life, if you will. Bars, like all their bars are on one street, just like arenas. So it's a little easier to just meet people and get around. But we lived almost an hour outside of Boston, good 45 minutes. And it was just a chore to get in. And then if you go in and if you have a few drinks, then getting back out, and you're like, it was just not easy.
How's it feel now that you're in this community?
It's just like night and day. I mean, we have so many things to do, and I can't even do them all. And there's a lot of choices, but it's just easy. Everything's within, like, what do you drive, 2 or 3 miles?
Yeah.
And
large, small town.
And yeah, and but there's arts, there's theater, there's clubs, there's pretty much everything you'd want when you go on vacation. I'm like, I don't want to be a 70, 80-year-old guy stuck in rural wherever, not being able to get to anything that I'd really like to do and see and be with and people I want to be with. So that was really the motivation. So my husband, I retired like 3 years before my husband. And when he retired in January, and we moved in June. I had my project plan. I was ready to go. Let's do it.
The old you was still there. The good part was still there.
Exactly. I still have the skill sets. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, now we're going to do something kind of fun. We call this the quick out late speed round. I'll give you a question. Just give the first thing you think of.
Okay.
All right. Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Provincetown or Palm Springs?
Oh, depends on the time of year. Palm Springs over all day.
Favorite place you've traveled in Europe?
Oh, Barcelona, I'd say.
Barcelona. Okay. One city you still want to visit?
Sydney. Never been to Australia.
And Gay Fathers Worldwide is based out of Australia.
Yeah.
Online support group similar to Gay Fathers called Boston.
Yep.
A movie night or live theater? One thing people are surprised to learn about you.
That I was a gymnast.
Good.
In college, yeah.
Best advice you ever received?
The same guy who told me about does God make mistakes? Told me to accept every invitation when I was coming out and just go and participate. And it was such good sound advice, because then you got involved with things and people invited you, and it just snowballed once you started to do that.
I have people say, now that I'm out, now what? What do I do? I said, well, don't sit in your house.
Exactly.
Even if you don't drink, go hang out somewhere, restaurant, bar,
Yep.
runners club, bowling, find something to do to meet people face to face. Like, get off your phone,
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was good advice then that you took. 3 words that describe your life today.
I'd say settled, happy, and adventurous.
Settled, happy, and adventurous. That sounds pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
You consider yourself happy and joyful then?
yeah. Yeah. We all have things to deal with and things to battle, but overall, yeah, so much happier.
If Gay Fathers of Greater Boston had a theme song, what should it be?
I'm coming out.
Okay. That's really good. That's really good.
Not all of them actually come out.
Mm-hmm.
There are some who actually go back to wives. That's too difficult. They don't want to,
Or they should decide that's the best for them. There's another support group in addition to Gay Fathers Worldwide called Husbands Out to Wives. How?
Yeah.
And a lot of them focus on mixed orientation marriages. They desire to do that and develop agreements. Sometimes they're in a relationship with their wife and with a man.
I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah. Husbands Out to Wives. I've been to some of their
Yeah.
gatherings.
But some of them did. We went to like parties at a house where the wife was the one doing all kitchen stuff. And
So what's the relationship like today with your former spouse and your children?
yeah, she we only talk. She and I only talk when it's about the kids, and that's her role.
So you have your boundaries and you're respecting the boundaries.
Yeah, and she wanted an arm's length, and
Okay.
like if that's what she wants, so that's her choice. Kids, awesome,
Okay.
awesome. Yeah, my oldest son came up to me a little while ago, and he's like, Dad, dude, you're never gonna have a problem with me.
And I would say for those that if there's
He's like, I have bi friends. He's like, I don't care. And I know my daughter is like phenomenal. So it's my middle son that I still worry a little bit about, because he's the one that got, I think, the brunt of it from the outing.
fractured relationships, I always advise clients think long game, long term.
Yeah.
In your case, you're honoring the boundaries. That's good thing to do.
Yep.
If someone says this is the boundary, that you can agree or disagree with the reasons for it, but say, I'll accept that. And things could change over time, or they may not. But you don't know for sure. Someone's listening right now and feels stuck between what they should do, where they are and where they want to go. What advice would you have for them?
I'd say to try and find either a therapist who is gay and understands what coming out means and the nuances of it, or a support group, either online or in person. If they are lucky enough to live in an area where there is an in-person support group, it's worth it, even if you can only do it a few times, just to know that there are other people out there like you, and they've been through it. In every way, shape, or form, somebody's been through the stuff that we go through. So, and they can be a huge support and help.
And if you now walk up to someone at that support group, and you're there in the entry to the building, and you see that man standing there nervous to walk through for the first time, shaking.
Yep.
What might you walk up and whisper in his ear to him?
Yeah. Or if you're in the right place. Congratulations, you're in the right place. It gets better. It does. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not New York.
It's the world. It's the world.
Exactly.
You don't know what the destination is.
Yeah.
There's so much that can be revealed to you.
Yeah.
But you got to understand yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And people say that, I'm too old. Don't judge. Don't prejudge, because you don't know how people look at the world. And there's so many different ethnic and religious backgrounds that you can't prejudge everybody on kind of one global type of thing.
I worked with men from age 29 to 84.
Yeah.
Broad spectrum.
Yeah.
Broad spectrum. Finding themselves. Anything else you'd like to share with others that we've not covered?
I don't think so. I think that's it. But the self-love piece is just the thing that just was the gift that I didn't expect. When I came out, I expected, and I found the group, I expected, gay men and parties and, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, got that. But I did not expect the internal discussion and look that I had to do for the next couple of years to be able to get to where I am now.
And you mean look as in self-work, look at yourself. And
why, and question, why do I think like that? Why am I so afraid of this? Why is it? Then you kind of try to peel back the onion. You're like, oh yeah, well, your parents told you, no, you don't want to be gay. The church said it was a sin. They were lobotomizing people when we were kids. It was not a world anyone would have wanted, and I was going to do everything I could not to be affiliated with it. So breaking that all down and I called it rewiring. But it took me a couple of years to rewire and not be able to not react in the same way that I used to. So,
very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the time today and being so open and honest and vulnerable to share your story and advice to others. And we know that these stories help others. And so some will be touched by this. We may not ever who they are and understand how it impacted them, but I know that will happen. So thank you again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So until next time, that's all on Out Late with David.
To find all episodes and resources for coming out later in life, visit outlatewithdavid.com. That's outlatewithdavid.com. Your go-to source for inspiration, support, and real stories.
To hear more episodes, visit outlatewithdavid.com. And to learn more about personal life coaching services, go to davidcottoncoaching.com.